friends. Welcome to another episode of Between the Lines with me, Lipika. And today we have with us Kanchana Banerjee, whose new book, Nobody's Child, published by HarperCollins last year, is drawing a lot of interest among thriller buffs. As Ravi Subramaniam puts it, it has reality TV, murder, kidnapping. What more would you need? Times of India has called it one of the most gripping thrillers of 2019. Welcome, Kanchana, to our show.
Thank you so much, Lipika. It's wonderful to be here with you, chatting. And one of the best things to do during lockdown is to talk about your book, talk about writing.
First question that I would like to start this conversation with, and it is something that has been there on my mind for a long time now since I've read a lot of your interviews, and that is the bit about reading as a child. What was your childhood like? How were you as a child?
Okay, so this is one of my favorite questions. I'm an only child, so I don't have any siblings, and as my name would tell you, I'm a Bengali. So as most of you would know that Bengalis love books, they are very much into reading. So my childhood has been pretty much surrounded by my father's books in his library. He's a voracious reader, as is my mother and my grandmother, who used to stay with us when I was a kid. So my earliest memories of my childhood are reading books, and like we had reading time in our family where each of us would be reading our own books. My mom would be reading a Bengali book. My grandmother would be reading a Desh Putrika, which is a very popular Bengali magazine, and I would be reading Minute Blyton. So a very family reading time is one of my most fond childhood memories. So I've grown up in the company of books. I've grown up burying my nose in a book and kind of spending hours with it. And I always also veered very naturally towards other friends, and I loved the company of friends. I loved cycling and doing crazy things outdoors with my friends, and of course studying and hating the exams and Hindi exam and maths exam and stuff like that. So pretty much a very normal average childhood, but yeah, reading and books have been my constant companion.
Right.
Since I was a kid.
And how do you see that change? Do you see children reading more? How important is it to inculcate this habit early on?
So the thing is, Lipika, I go back to a generation where most families like mine didn't even have a television. In fact, a TV entered my house when I was
very less.
So I was in class 6 when the TV first came to our house, and by then certain habits had already been formed.
Developed,
And even after the television arrived into Indian homes, there was only Doordarshan, and there was Krishi Darshan, and there was that one solitary Sunday movie which the entire family would be waiting for, and there was just one Chitrahar on Wednesday at 8 o'clock in the evening, and you had to really negotiate with your mother and with your homework and and get the permission to watch it. So the thing is, we didn't really have the Netflix and Hotstar and Amazon Primes of the world, and of course mobile phone and internet to distract us. So books, thankfully, were our window to the world outside. And and I really believe that you can never ever be lonely if you have a book. If you love reading, you can never get bored. You will never feel lonely, and you can escape your present situation and go to and travel to fantastic lands and countries and places that places that are far away. And and get to know about cultures, get to know about people, organizations. I have learned so much about the White House and the American administration from Baldacci's books. Then Frederick Fawcett, Alistair MacLean. You can know so much about the Second World War and all that happened, and the assassinations and the Day of the Jackal and etc. So books can teach you so much more. So many things which probably you will not be exposed to in your life, which you would probably not have an opportunity. Like, say for example, Jurassic Park. I mean, if a person reads Jurassic Park, there is so much you can. Of course, there is a huge fictional liberty and creative liberty which has gone into making these books. but there is also a lot of science, in Michael
True.
Crichton's
Yeah.
book.
Yeah.
So you can learn so much. So I cannot stop emphasizing on the importance of reading and how important it is to inculcate the love for books, in children.
Was becoming a writer a natural transition
Of course,
uh,
of course.
reading, being a good reader or reading more?
I would say that reading is a natural step towards writing, because there are lots of readers who don't write, and thankfully so. If everyone became a writer, who would read? So so we need more readers, and we already have too many writers, enough writers, I would say. But if you want to become a writer, if you want to become an author, reading is the most important thing, because that is what fires your imagination. That is what shows you how words can spin magic. So if you want to be, reading does not lead to writing, but writing can't happen without reading.
That brings me, in fact, to an important part of your writing process, and something that you've been very vocal about, which is very unlike, because most of the writers hide this fact or do not like talking about it. But you have written articles on it, you speak about it at various forums, and that is about rejection. Nobody's Child, as you've shared, was the first time that you presented the manuscript. The first draft of the manuscript was rejected. Tell us a bit more about it.
So I think I will have to admit and tell you this, that it's easier to talk about your rejection once it's behind you and if you have succeeded. So if HarperCollins did not eventually happen, and if the book wasn't well received, I don't know how much I would have gone around talking about the book.
Yeah.
So I'm very fortunate that the book, Touchwood, Crossfinger, has done so well, and it is so well received. But rejection is a very important part of life. Just as success and rejection are the two sides of the same coin. And anybody will tell you that you cannot always just meet success in life. You have to know how to handle rejection, how to handle failure. And I think a failure and rejection teaches you a lot more about yourself, about your life, about the kind of person that you want to be, than success. I think
Kanchana, your first book was a relationship drama.
that's right.
And during this period or phase of rejection, did it ever come to your mind or occur to you that maybe you should stick to what you were writing or the genre you were writing in?
While the relationship drama and the core subject of the first book is very serious, it talks about emotional abuse and stuff like that. But there were quite a few very thrilling aspects about it, and at heart I think I am a thriller writer. I just love the thriller genre. I love watching such movies, such television serials, reading such books. I think I was moving in that direction. In fact, after my first book was out, Arpapol Chaudhary of HarperCollins was my editor, editor with A Forgotten Affair. He gave me a bunch of thrillers, international bestsellers, and he said, Kanchana, I think you should read these, because I can see you moving in this direction. I think I landed up where I wanted to, willy-nilly. Yeah.
There's a strong undercurrent of class war in Nobody's Child, and there's a sense of entitlement, which is the primary cause of crime. How did it all come about?
So, see, the thing is, Lipika, whatever an author writes, whatever a writer writes, is never separate from the society he or she lives in.
Very
like the
rightly
news
said,
items we read about in newspaper, we watch on television news, on social media, etc. Even if the writer is not consciously trying to make a social message, like honestly, when I'm writing, I'm just trying to write an engaging story. That is my first aim. I don't really set out with a social message to begin with. I begin with the premise that the story has to be interesting, and I try to make the story very engaging, thrilling, and at the edge of your seat kind of a feeling. And in the process of doing that, if certain social messages or certain social themes come into play, that's just an added bonus. But as I said, that a writer never really writes in isolation. So we are always, all the time, influenced by what is going around, like the reality televisions. Like while I'm not a very keen follower of these shows, but I have seen some of them, and the kind of drama that unfolds, in Big Boss, in the singing contest, and etc. That TR, and I have a lot of friends in the television industry, and we've had long conversations about this TRP and how these how stories are created, how love stories are created on these shows, and
Just to
just to
impact
impact.
those, yeah.
And then and then you read about other stories of greed and passion, where a woman, she kind of ends up killing her own daughter, sitting at the back of the car while her ex-husband is throttling her daughter and killing. So these all these things stay in your mind, and as a writer you're very sensitive to what goes around. So that's like Kamini Pratap Singh of Nobody's Child is inspired by a woman that we all know of. While the life is not the same, of course, a lot of creative liberty has been taken to shape her character in a very different manner. But reality television and then other characters that you read, that I've read about, they have all influenced the story. Yeah.
Okay, before we move ahead, let's take a fun break.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you some questions, and you have to give me quick and quirky answers to it.
I'll try to be as quirky as possible.
Who cooks better at home?
Of course, me. My husband can't even boil an egg.
Okay. What's your favorite drink?
My favorite drink. It's recently become single malt.
Oh.
Earlier I was a wine person.
Wine person.
Because, and this has also happened because of Nobody's Child. Because while I was developing the character of Kamini Pratap Singh, I was thinking as to how to make her more interesting and more devious and more sensual and stuff like that. So I decided that she's going to be a whiskey drinker. So I did. And if you read the book, you'll see that there's a lot of information about, what type of whiskey she likes and what goes with what kind of whiskey. And she has this special Japanese whiskey which she has kept for some special occasion. So, all that research, I think, filtered down, and I ended up falling in love with whiskey.
Do negative reviews affect you?
See, it's human to be affected by negative reviews. While I have to admit. But fortunately, I've not really been at the receiving end of scathing negative reviews that a lot of people talk about. So I'm very fortunate in that sense.
Which other creative talent are you good at?
Nothing. Writing is the only thing I can do. I can't.
Are you
I can't
serious?
draw. I'm terrible at stitching or knitting. I can't paint. I think I'm pretty bad with colors. I have to constantly seek help from my friends to color combine, my dresses, because very often they'll come and say, "What on earth were you wearing? Okay, don't you have any sense?" So I think writing is the only thing. But yeah, I have to tell you, I have learned how to bake, so I'm pretty good at becoming a good baker, and I'm a decent cook. While my husband and son say that I'm a very good cook because they don't have any option. Who else will cook for them if I don't? So I guess they have to be nice. But I'm a pretty decent cook, I guess. But apart from that,
right. If you were to wake up a man,
I think, oh my God, I think men have such boring sartorial choices.
Yeah.
They can only wear limited number of colors of shirt and the black and brown trouser and such boring shoes. Oh God, and they can't wear sarees, and I love my sarees too. But no, I don't want to wake up to be a man. I'm very happy to be a woman.
all right. I've heard a lot of writers who talk about how the characters in their books have been inspired by real people and the people they know, and a lot of characters are a reflection of who they are. Who is the character that comes closest to you in real life?
No. So, see, the thing about Nobody's Child is that none of the characters come anywhere close to me, and thank you, God. I'm not crooked, I'm just a normal human being. So, none of the characters come even remotely close to what I am. I'm a very normal, average person, with very weird imagination, which is why these books happen. But my favorite character in Nobody's Child is Monty. He's the gangster's younger brother. He's lame. He's
The
got
one
one
who's in love,
and he's lame, and he's got one leg shorter than the other, and that's a genetic defect. And he also has a peculiar skin condition. He's evil, he's cruel, but he's also very disadvantaged. And nobody in the and in a gang, a person who's physically weak is always looked upon as
down upon.
Down upon. He's like not considered. He's half of the time people don't answer when he asks a question. They just kick at him like he's one stray dog who's roaming around in the halls. They don't kind of give him any importance. Forget giving him any importance. They don't even consider him as a person. He could be just a nail on the wall.
Right.
But if ever I were to write a sequel to Nobody's Child, Monty would play a very, very important role.
What would be your advice to young budding writers?
You have to read a lot and write a lot. You have to because when you start writing, a lot of nonsense comes out, a lot of garbage comes out. So you have to keep writing. You have to just flush the pipe. Just keep the tap on so that all the kachra water flows out, and then good water comes out. So read a lot and write a lot.
What would be a one lockdown takeaway?
Be grateful. Be thankful for where you are, for what you have, for the family, for the health, for the privileges that we have. I think we just take our lives for granted. We just take normal life, a normal routine life, so granted. And things can just change overnight, and what was normal, routine and boring, and you would start thirsting for that. Like, I'm just aching to go out of the house and just go to a coffee bar and just and just have a cup of coffee, and that's such a normal thing to do. But when things go awry and the normal is thrown out of the window, we just realize how much we want the normal back. So I think just be grateful for what we have, for where we are, for what we are. Yeah.
And in the end, Kanchana, one favorite all-time quote that you would like to end this conversation with?
Okay. So I have a lot of favorite quotes because I'm not a woman of few words. But I'll give you my most famous quote. It's by Walt Disney. If you dream it, you can do it.
And that is a perfect quote to end this conversation with. Thank you so much, Kanchana, for being with us here today and making time for this. It was great fun talking to you, and I look forward to meeting you and tasting what you bake the next time when the times are better.
So thank you for having me here.
That was Kanchana Banerjee for you. Until the next time, stay safe, stay indoors, and happy reading. Goodbye.